Am I the a-hole for refusing to help my parents with their mortgage, forcing them to lose their home, even though I can easily pay it off? I'm 23 female, my parents are 45 female and 46 male. I have 2 brothers, 24 and 21, and a little sister 8. We grew up upper middle class. As children, my parents would buy my 2 brothers whatever they requested, regardless of how expensive it was, allowed them to go on trips with them and threw them over-the-top birthday parties which I didn't receive any. For example, my brothers got to go to Disney for their birthdays while I stayed with my grandparents. Fortunately, my aunt/grandma took me to Disney a few months later. After being called out, they said they couldn't afford a trip for 5. As we got a little older, my parents had us working in their business after school and weekends. They gave both my brothers allowances for helping out while I didn't receive anything, though I was expected to do more. I wish it was just financial abuse though. My parents always said very hurtful things. They'd also make horrible comments when I entered the room, and I honestly still don't know what I did wrong. When my older brother graduated high school, they gave him an all-inclusive trip around Europe for the summer. When I graduated the next year, I didn't even get a party from them. I think the worst of it being they paid for both my brothers' higher education, but told me to figure it out because they can't afford to pay for 3 college degrees. At 18, I moved in with my grandparents full-time and decided not to go to college because I didn't want to get into debt or put that burden on my grandparents, who offered to pay for some. I did, however, take them up on their offer to financially support me until I had a job. My grandma gifted me about $5,000 after moving in with her to help me start an online business I told her about. Long story short, my online shop blew up and made well over 6 figures my first year. Within 5 years, 2 online shops and a lot of investing in real estate and stocks, I now make way more money than my parents ever made combined. During the pandemic, my parents had to shut down their restaurant and are still struggling to make ends meet. They are also unable to pay for their mortgage and are afraid they'll go homeless if I don't support them. They also have a lot of medical bills after my father got into an accident and needed surgery for his knee. I, being so grateful for everything my grandparents and aunts have done for me, decided to get my grandparents their dream home and paid off my aunt's debts for medical school. After realizing I can also easily afford to pay off their debts/mortgage, my parents have been begging me, literally in tears, to save their home, but I refused. They told me I'm an a-hole and said I deserved my upbringing but that I shouldn't be punishing my siblings and forcing them out their homes for the actions of my parents. I'm not punishing my siblings though. I'll be more than happy to support them, especially my baby sister if she comes and stays with me or my grandparents. Am I the a-hole for watching them become homeless? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. As soon as you refused, the mask slipped. They told you that you deserved their mistreatment. It's very telling that they are aware they mistreated her. They acknowledged they were terrible parents to her by saying that. And yet, they still expect her to financially support them. They have some nerve. She owes them nothing and I'd be sure to tell them so. Not the a-hole. You reap what you sow. Where are the 2 brothers they gave so much to help them out? My younger brother, 21, is still in school and my older brother has a great tech job but has a family of his own and isn't able to support them much. Not the a-hole. But what do your grandparents think? Does it pain them to see their children like this? However, forgetting your parents for a minute, your siblings may resent you for life, even your baby sister, for breaking up the family. You say baby sister can come stay with you away from her parents? I'd think long and hard about this. Maybe there is something you could do that meets in the middle, like a deferred loan in writing or something, just enough to not lose the house. This way it's just a small favor. My maternal grandparents, the ones that took care of me growing up, are on my side and don't think it's right for my parents to ask me for anything. They obviously feel bad for their daughter's situation, but don't think it's my responsibility, especially when they've called her out multiple times and she didn't change. Also, they aren't really a fan of my father. As for my siblings, they're fully aware of my treatment and wish they did something growing up but couldn't. They don't blame me for not wanting to help. We have a great relationship and I plan to support my younger siblings, 21 and 8. My little sister doesn't know anything about this and hopefully is kept that way until she gets older. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to help my sister throw a party and pay for a gift for our parents' 30th wedding anniversary? My sister, 29 female, is our parents' favorite. They have tried to hide it over the years, but for almost all of my 26 female life, it has been made perfectly clear that my parents care more about my sister. They know her favorite food, favorite color, favorite band, and generally things you're supposed to know about the people you are very close to / family. But they have always tended to forget mine and just give me my sister's favorite things. Other family members have pointed it out to them. My grandpa, who was the best to me growing up, called them out in front of everyone on more than one occasion for it. Like when I was 8, they had a birthday dinner with my sister's favorite dinner instead of mine. Grandpa was like, "What the heck is this? Why did you make sister's favorite instead of Opie's?" My parents were all flustered and said it was just a silly mix-up. I'd say of the 16 birthday dinners I had with them, 15 of them were my sister's favorites and not mine. While the 16th one was only right because Grandpa forced his way into the kitchen to help that year. I was always a gamer and a reader. My sister loved makeup and dolls. So my birthday / Christmas gifts were often makeup and dolls. When people used to ask them what I wanted to be, they'd say what my sister wanted to be. I have brought up to them on multiple occasions that it hurts my feelings, but they never change. So I started to become more distant from my parents and don't make the effort I used to. My sister has acknowledged that she's aware of this stuff, but she still wanted me to help her throw a party for their anniversary and to go half with her on this really expensive gift she wants to get them. She told me about it over Christmas. The anniversary is in April. She wanted to go all out, but I told her I'm not doing anything that big to celebrate them and will not be putting all that effort in when they never make it with me. She told me that this would be helping her too. I told her she wants me to help her celebrate the people who show clear favoritism between their kids, but she doesn't see the big deal. We argued. She told me I was being childish and that I'm unfair to her / them. She told me if I don't help with the party and a gift, I am publicly shaming our parents and leaving it all on her shoulders. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Give them makeup and dolls. No, get them Grandpa's favorite. Opie, not the a-hole. Just forget about them and live your best life. Celebrate your grandpa though. He's the real one. Not the a-hole. Favoritism or not, you don't have an obligation to pay expensive gifts to your parents nor to throw big parties. It is nice if you can afford it and if you have a good relationship with them, but not given. Your sister calling you unfair when it was your parents showing clear favoritism is laughable. Did your sister ever stand up for you? Not that it was her role, but it would have been nice. Her behavior in this situation is really selfish. It's about what she wants and what your parents want, disregarding what you want once again. She didn't. Other family members did, but she'd say nice things to me after it happened. That was about it. So it's not really standing up. More like a pat in the back, but she didn't do anything to make an unfair situation right. Definitely not a-hole, OP. Blaming the person who suffered from discrimination is not okay. What your parents did was not okay, and what your sister said to you is not okay. None of their bad behavior is your fault. Not the a-hole, and I'm surprised you're still keeping in touch with them. You aren't obliged to give your parents anything just because they made you. I hope you are surrounded by better people now. I have considered not being in contact with them anymore. Never took that step, but it has totally crossed my mind. I went low contact with my toxic family, and I couldn't be happier with my life. If you think it's something that will make you feel better and safer, then give it some more thought. Good luck. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not paying for the repairs for a car I gave to my nephew for free after buying myself a new one? Back in October, I decided to buy myself a new car, which is a used 2020 Jeep Compass. First vehicle I've gotten myself in over a decade. My nephew began college over the summer but had no car for transportation, and I was only going to get between $500 to $1,000 for it for trade-in or sale anyways. So, I decided to be a cool uncle and give it to him for free as his first vehicle. It was a 2008 Dodge and in pretty good shape. Drove well but had some problems such as oil pan leaking and some other minor work. So I brought it up with my brother, nephew's father, that I wanted to give my nephew my old car as a gift for free. I wasn't asking any money from them, but made it clear that they would have to pay for anything pertaining to the transfer to them and update the inspection or anything else that needed to be done. I also let them know of any problems with it that I knew of. When asked why I was getting a new car, I told them I had thought it was time, and I had a job and budget to get one. I had been thinking about it for a few years and finally decided I should just do it. They agreed and they took it to a mechanic they trusted and had to do about $540 worth of work on it. for brakes, inspection, oil pan, and some other minor work. He said not to worry about a bill, that he'd work it up later. My nephew was excited when we gave it to him when he was visiting on the weekend, so now he doesn't have to bum rides or take a bus. Well, a couple months go by and the mechanic finally gets around to making out the repair bill. That, like I said, came out to be about $540. Well, my brother now wants me to pay the bill and says I should have paid for all the work before I even gave it to my nephew. My response was, I told you what condition I knew of about a car, and that any repairs or transfer payments would be their responsibility. Now they are acting like I've cheated them somehow, when all I can think is that I gave them a car at no additional cost other than repairs, and somehow I'm the a-hole? What do you guys think? Should I have paid or chipped in for the repairs or what? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You told them what the deal was. They accepted it. Now they want to change the rules. If they mention it again, politely tell them that if the repairs are too much, you'll gladly take the vehicle back. But those are the options. Either shut up and pay the bill or give it back. No good deeds goes unpunished. OP, tell them you want the car back. Then you'll sell it and make money off of it, since you don't want to burden them with a free car. Not the a-hole. I did something similar with a friend's son. I asked him for $1,000 for the car that he could pay over 10 months. He paid me $300 over 3 months. Complained about the work it needed, which I told him about, and his dad also looked at it with him. Tuned it out like teenage boys who think they're real mechanics do. And it broke down beyond repair 6 months into him owning it. He never paid me the other $700. His mom wouldn't hold him accountable. So I took the L and made a mental note that will just never do him a favor again. When I was younger, my father was going to buy a new car and trade in the old one. My neighbor heard about it and asked my dad if he could buy it. My dad reluctantly agreed because he believed mixing money and friendship was dangerous. Sure enough, after a month or so, the car died. My neighbor informed my dad about it and made him feel bad, so my dad paid him back all of the money. A few years later, my parents wanted to sell the house and move away. They told the real estate agent not to put up signs but to sell it quietly. When our neighbors discovered they had sold the house, they were upset because my parents hadn't told them, because they wanted to buy it for their son. My father was wise in his decision not to involve family and friends in money transactions. I've learned a valuable lesson. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not asking my ex when I am moving abroad? Me and my ex-wife divorced when our daughter was 3 and she's 15 now. I'm gonna be fair. Ex has a lot of issues, to the level that every member of her family, her mom, dad, siblings, cousins, uncles, aunts, etc., gave testimonies against her at the case custody. As a result, I was given sole legal and medical custody after the divorce. She was bound to child support. That was automatically cut from her salary that was also decided by the judge because she was found untrustworthy to handle this. The house we lived in was her father's, and he made her move out to a smaller flat of his and he transferred the deed to mine in my daughter's name. She's also not allowed to have anything but supervised visits, but she didn't visit since she is 5 years old, so I mostly raised her by myself, with the help of our extended families. 2 months ago, I got a job offer from a university in Uruguay to be a visiting professor for 3 years. After I talked with my daughter, we thought it was a good idea, and she said she wanted to see and experience South America. There, I also don't have a rigid schedule so we can tour around South America in these 3 years. I also never went to South America other than Rio in late 1990s for Rio Carnival, so it will be a new experience for me too. And at the 27th of December, we moved to Uruguay. Her family was supportive and told us to enjoy this experience. But the problem is my ex. She called me and yelled at me for 30 minutes. Then my daughter took the phone from me and closed it to her face after saying, "Why do you care when you weren't there?" The thing is, my ex doesn't have any power over me and my daughter, so we can do anything we want. She also doesn't own the house she's living right now, and father-in-law can kick her out if he thinks she is out of line. So I might be abusing the power I have. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. To your point, she hasn't cared for the past 10 years, so I think it's just the jealousy coming out in her. As long as you're legally able to move your daughter out of the country, go for it. Enjoy your life and don't look back. This indeed. OP, don't even bother to let her father kick her out. Put your energy elsewhere. Just ignore her calls and go have fun with your daughter. If her father is annoyed with her, he can handle her himself. And I hope your daughter will have a blast. Not the a-hole for me, I reckon. I'm a little confused as to what the problem is that you describe at the end. It looks like you and your child are perfectly fine to move away to Uruguay. The anger that your ex-partner has seems likely to be driven by their own shame, rather than anything based on the situation. If they had a good relationship with their child and exercised the visitation rights, then it would surely be a difficult situation to manage. But that's clearly not the case here. I think their living situation shouldn't really be any concern when you and your child make this decision. It's really up to the father-in-law whether they boot them out. I think you don't have to feel guilty or responsible if their own actions cause them negative consequences. Father-in-law can kick her out if he ever thinks her daughter is disturbing her granddaughter. There are details that I couldn't write here, but if my ex goes to their parents' house, one of her sisters does a complete body search on her, in case she is hiding something dangerous or could be used as a weapon. Not the a-hole, but maybe cover your bases by talking with your lawyer. I am legally safe. I was even offered to terminate her parenting rights during the divorce process, but I didn't want it. I was still holding out hope for her, but maybe I should have done that.